Good afternoon. So everybody is a little tired, and so we're going to switch it up a little bit. We're going to be talking about women's health. So I'm going to say the word uterus. I might say the word vagina. You might hear that from me today. Actually, we're not going to show pictures, so you men in the room don't have to be concerned. But we are talking about a very important thing, which is diagnostic and therapeutic programs for women's health. And women's health, I've spent a lot of years with J&J and GE, and as we all know, there's been some changes in the landscape over the last few years. And so women's health kind of took a dip there in the 2007, 2008, and now we're starting to see a resurgence of new products coming along. And what partly is driving that is reimbursement. So I'll be talking a bit about reimbursement, which I know the last group also spoke about. So we have developed a very small endoscopic system. It's both small in its technology footprint and small in its size. And our focus is on the uterus and on the bladder. So we are diagnostic and therapeutic hysteroscopy and cystoscopy. And so I'm quite proud of my team, so I'll share with you my team. There's a lot of gray hair in this team. So we've been here and done that. I've got a lot of J&Jers and actually a person that has no hair, and that wasn't because of our team. But we have lots of years at J&J, Teleflex, et cetera, and spent quite a long time thinking about this market and what we wanted to do. So let me tell you a little bit about the state of women's health. As I mentioned, it's been kind of an empty field for a while, but 50 to 60% of women, and this is a global number, are going to experience some type of incontinence, overactive bladder, abnormal uterine bleeding, those types of conditions. And today, there's about 8.5 million hysteroscopies in the US. The problem is that most of those are still happening in the OR, and what we're talking about is the acute care setting. It's a 15 to 20 minute procedure, but a woman has to be out all day. It costs the hospital system in the US $11,000 to $13,000, and it costs a woman out of pocket $4,000 for a 15-minute procedure. Does that make sense to anybody in this room, right? So what we're seeing now is there's been a change in reimbursement for office procedures. It increased 575% in 2017. And we have a lot of new surgical devices that are coming on the market that are designed specifically for this market and for the office. And one of that is cystoscopy. So you hear a lot about Botox for overactive bladder. There are about 6 million of those procedures, and most of them are already being done in the office space. So why are we not doing other things in the office? Well, this is one reason. These are great systems. I used to sell these systems. Big towers, they're the same thing you would have for a colonoscopy or other types of procedures. But as you can see, they're really expensive, they're time consuming for the office, and they're quite large for an office setup. So in working with our physicians, what we know is it needs to be really what they're used to doing in the OR, but it has to be way simplified and cost effective. So this is the Luminol System. We have a very small footprint, as you can see. That small box that you see in my hands actually replaces the entire tower. So our secret sauce is really the ability to combine the best in consumer electronics along with a great team of algorithm builders who have designed this system specifically for the uterus and the bladder. It takes a lot less time to clean up, and it only needs one nurse. And in fact, one of our jokes with one of our physicians is, it's so easy I can set it up. So it's a very simplified system. And fresh off the press, as of this weekend, we are happy to announce that we've just signed a strategic partnership, and we will be available very soon nationwide in the US, and then they are actually helping us to expand globally. So why am I here if we have a partnership? Well, unlike our other colleagues that have been asking for $22, $45, $30 million, I need two. I need $2 million. So I'm sure everybody can pass the hat in here and we can find $2 million. But my $2 million is what we're looking for really is to facilitate this partnership. We have a IP portfolio of 6 patents that we want to continue to prosecute. We own all of those outright. They're not through any academic setting. We want to commercialize on our contracts. We have several contracts with networks that we want to continue to work with. an expansion of this portfolio. So let me tell you a little bit more about our product. So we received a 510(k) clearance. We're the first scope that we're aware of that received a dual indication of cystoscopy and hysteroscopy, diagnostic and operative, from the FDA, and that was in August of 2018. We then went to a regional launch in April, and I had 3 sales reps, so we were very small scale. We have, our first patent was issued last year. We have 2 additional 510(k)s that were last year as well, and we're looking for this partnership that will lead to acquisition in the next 24 months. So your time value of money here, again, we're looking at about $2 million, and we're looking to recoup that in the next 12 to 24 months. So why do we have all these different sheaths? Well, again, at J&J, one of the things I learned is that one size does not fit all, and especially in the gynecology market, as you're transitioning from the acute care to the office space, you need to guide people. You want to make sure that they feel comfortable in making that transition. And it's not just a clinical question. This is about economics. This is about setup. This is about how their office can work with the system. And so what we found is that there needs to be this kind of a KitchenAid mixer approach, or a Kyobe tools, if you think of. We have this base scope, and then we have developed different lines of sheaths. And as I mentioned, 70% today are done in the OR. We're trying to move that, and we think we need to do that by guiding this conversation. So we have a diagnostic sheath that was just approved last year. It's sub 3 millimeters, which means that you do not need anesthesia, and you can do this procedure in under 5 minutes. You can go in, you can take a look, you can understand what the pathology might be, and if something more has to happen, then you can move forward. We are in development of the biopsy sheath, which will allow you to actually do a biopsy under visualization. And here's a scary thought for many of you in the room. Over 60% of biopsies today are done blind. That means a doctor goes in, they take a look at the organ, they take the scope out, they take a little plastic pipette, they go back into the uterus or the bladder, and they guess where they just were. So if you look at the clinical studies in this market, you can see that the false negative rate is quite high. And so we're trying to solve that through the ability to do visualization of a biopsy. We have 2 other sheaths that are available on the market. One's a semi-flexible and one is a rigid. Those are both operative. We are agnostic to the type of instrument you could use. So this could be both mono and bipolar. And we use a wide range of forceps, et cetera. And coming soon, we're working on this new Protection Plus sheath, which would be a sterile sheath that would keep the scope sterile as well, which eliminates not only the need for a lot of reprocessing, but in terms of other products and other specialties outside of gynecology, this also protects cross-contamination. So in closing, we have been very focused on de-risking and results. If you talk to our current investors, that's what they would tell you. When we tell you we're going to do something, we do it. I can tell you to do this entire program from start to finish, we've only raised $5.5 million. And so we're looking for right now another 2 to continue driving. We have a direct regulatory path. It's very clean. Reimbursements established, and we already have revenue sold with healthy reorders on that razor blade model. I would love to talk with you more, and I look forward to speaking with you this week. Look for the redhead.